The devastation in Ukraine through the eyes of the children and the lens of a war photographer who's creating photos for a much higher purpose. We first introduced you to Brian McCarty and his War Toys project when he was in Syria and Iraq, capturing kids, their toys, and their art. And then he illustrates it all through pop art pictures. Now, his art therapy project has taken him to Ukraine, once again helping children affected by war to process their emotions, express their emotions, using a child's perspective to promote peace. Joining us once again, Brian McCarty, director and photographer for War Toys, who recently just returned from Ukraine. So, Brian, welcome back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm curious, how is this war zone, this experience in Ukraine, different from your last trips?
I mean, it's extremely different, to be honest. Up until now, I've worked mostly in the Middle East, and you've got the war, but also you've got a level of poverty that doesn't exist in Ukraine. So even though, I mean, in Ukraine, what the kids are going through is just terrible, day in and day out, it still doesn't reach the same level that I've seen in other places like Iraq. And so it was a little conflicting in that regard. But really, the experiences of these children are the exact same that you would find in the Middle East, in Iraq, or Africa, or in other places where it's not necessarily declared war. It's all too similar.
Well, let's take a look at some of the photos. Let's start with your art therapy session with Yehor, 5-year-old from Kyiv, who shows us his grandparents fleeing. Tell us about this photo and his story.
So this is a great example of a lot of what we saw in Ukraine, where the children just didn't know, didn't have a lot of information. In this regard, this 5-year-old boy is making a picture about his grandparents, that he just doesn't know if they're alive or dead. They're in the East, in the Donbass somewhere. And so we use locally found toys to recreate his account. The little erector set plane was found in the Petrivka flea market in Kyiv. The tank was found in a mall, and the little wooden figures in sort of an educational toy store. So you really get a sort of cross sampling of the different toys that are available in Ukraine.
You also, there's the theme of casting heroes, and this is a way for the kids to draw about those individuals that are inspiring them or ones that they are missing, concerned about within this war. Tell us about 9-year-old Alina and why she chose to draw her parents.
So Alina hadn't seen her parents in quite a long time. Both her parents had been fighting in this war since before the escalation. And so she made a drawing. On one half is her mom, she imagines in the field somewhere in the Donbass. And on the other side is her dad, who she imagines in a shelter somewhere. And she sort of blended her reality with her father, sort of showing that closeness that she's missing, because she spent 8 weeks in a shelter in Cherniv as the city was undergoing bombardment. And the shelter that you see in the photo was one that was used very heavily during that time.
Wow. All right, another one that my producer and I were touched by, 6-year-old Irina, just drawing about the uncertainty of war. She had to flee to Bucha, from what I understand. She drew this photo where she imagines that her cat is still at home waiting for her.
Yeah, and it is, that, again, that uncertainty. And especially, we saw more than a few accounts about pets. And the interesting thing was, so many got left because when the war broke out with the explosions and whatever, they run for the hills or get under a bed or whatever it is. And when you have seconds to run, and if you can't find the cat, that's it, unfortunately. And so a lot of children lost their pets and don't know what happened to their pets. I know there are a few aid organizations who are devoted to this, but it really had an impact on the kids.
So something else that has an impact on these kids are these toys that you not only find where they are and what they're playing with, but also, as you mentioned, locally in the area. I love how you're supporting the merchants there. Once you are finished with your project and working with these kids and these art therapy sessions and taking your photos and recreating these images, what do you do with all the toys that you've captured in these moments?
Well, to get the counts that we do, it takes me buying a lot of toys. And I have been toy shopping in more places that you can possibly imagine. And what ends up happening is I'll buy an entire set to get, one family member or one figure. And the rest of it is just unused. And so what we do at the end of every trip, I will donate giant boxes or garbage bags or whatever it happens to be to the local organizations that we work with so they can distribute to the children under their care. We're careful not to give the toys directly to the kids in the group sessions because you get weird favoritism and it causes issues. But when we can see them with the toys, it is magical and amazing.
Well, it's magical what you're doing, and I encourage folks to go to wartoys.org, check out your project, and support you in what you're doing. And we look forward to talking to you again. You keep us updated on your next trip, Brian.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.